Create a Pro Wrestling fans! I am longtime independent wrestling fan Robert. Breaking Boundaries was a heck of a event as Create a Pro Wrestling not only returned to action but returned back to the Knights of Columbus in Lynbrook, New York. The show opened up with tag team action as television champion Bobby Orlando and Dr. Cool Jay Clang did battle with the vegan Leo Sparrow and the Phoenix GKM Birds of the Sun, who once again for the second month in a row did not have Big Bird Johnny Clash in their corner. I'm sorry, second show in a row, not second month. Good tag team match to open up the show, and I forget the exact ending. The Birds of the Sun defeated Bobby Orlando and Dr. Cool J Clang to pick up the victory. And after the Birds had left the ringside area and their music stopped, Orlando says to Clang, "I'm sorry," and then Clang basically lost his marbles, took his frustrations out on Bobby Orlando, ended up taking the Creative Pro Wrestling Television Championship belt and hits Orlando in the face with it, and basically, I don't know what Jay Clang, obviously no longer in the good graces of the fans, apparently. More on this matchup later on. Our second matchup, we saw Liam Davis do battle with Bronson of the Iron Savages. Pretty good battle between these two men. I forget exactly how it ended, but Bronson defeated Liam Davis to pick up the victory. Well, actually, before the match even started, Davis had the microphone. He made light to the fact about Bronson having an identity crisis. First he was a bear, and then he's a savage, and he said ever since he had a girlfriend, that had gotten a girlfriend, he said Bronson had gone soft, where he took exception to that one, and the match got underway. And Bronson, let's just say, he took Liam Davis to Chopfest City, shall we say, or Chopfest Town. He was constantly chopping. At one point, he brought him over right there where I was sitting by Tommy Maselli and his girlfriend Robin, constantly chopping Liam Davis's chest. Poor guy. Next up was a triple threat tag team matchup as we saw Sebastian Amore and Jay George accompanied the ring by his, entourage or his crew, as they did battle with Jack Tomlinson and Dante Drago, Vlog Bro University, and the third team, Steven Azure and Steve Somerset, the Even Stevens. Well, the Even Stevens and Vlog Bro University have clashed before. Good match where all three of these teams managed to have. And eventually Even Stevens defeated Vlog Bro University and the team of Jay George and Sebastian Amore. Then it was time for a six-man tag team match as we saw Dominican Destroyer Vargas, Jay Macias, and Pat Fitzpatrick accompanied the ring by Creative Pro Wrestling's general manager, the NC of Prayers, Ariella Nix, as those three men did battle with Brian Myers, Phil Cardigan, and the Creative Pro champion Bryce Donovan. Good matchup these six men put on, and at one point, great spot where Phil Cardigan handed Myers and Donovan their own cups of coffee, and they all drank it, much like spinach to Popeye, shall we say. Bryce Donovan ended up, actually he went for trying to get a chokeslam on Jay Macias, but I believe it was Pat Fitzpatrick who came in and hit Donovan with his own championship belt. Macias tried to get a count, but tried to pin him, but I believe Myers prevented that from happening. Eventually Donovan does hit the chokeslam on Macias and pinned him, enabling Bryce Donovan, Brian Myers, and Phil Cardigan to defeat Vargas, Jay Macias, and Pat Fitzpatrick. I wonder if they, those three guys, if Ariella Nix have come up with a faction name as of yet. Unless they're not considering themselves a faction. Up next, it was a singles competition as Nick Robles, the winner of the recent Earn It tournament on CAPW, took on the Silver Sniper, TJ Crawford. these guys actually had a very good matchup, and Nick Robles really stepped it up, turned it up a notch. I forgot how it ended, but the Silver Sniper TJ Crawford did defeat Nick Robles. No pun intended when I say that Nick Robles has earned it. You know, I mean, this was like kind of his coming out party, if you ask me. So we'll see where he goes from this point. Next up, we were set to see, it was Eric James and VSK, the Adrenaline Express, challenge Kevin Tibbs and CPA, the Midlife Express, for the Tag Team Championship. Now, for those who are fully aware, Eric James usually does an a cappella version of the Backstreet Boys song, I Want It That Way. Now, the funny thing was, when Midlife Express came out with their entrance music, which I'm fully aware of, CPA had a microphone of his own, and he's doing a karaoke. Let's just say, I don't know if this is a first, but I guess I could say first ever Creative Pro Wrestling karaoke off, where CPA took to the ring, and he's got a microphone. He's singing Creed's "My Sacrifice" as he comes to the ring, and he was like, he and Kevin Tibbs were right by near where I was sitting, and I actually started singing the song, especially when the chorus came along through my megaphone. Now, funny thing is, although I'm not a fan of boy bands, especially back in the boy band craze, but I will say Eric James does have a set of pipes on him. The match was on. So many close moments in this one, and eventually the Midlife Express defeat the Adrenaline Express to retain the Tag Team Championship. You know, look at that. We had Express versus Express in 2023. And then at that point, they did go to intermission, which shocked me, because I thought they were going to, after they didn't go to intermission after the six-man tag, I thought the show was going to go straight through. But right after the tag title match, they did go to intermission, and ring announcer Ryan Peace said it was going to be a 10-minute intermission. I don't know if it was even 10 minutes. Up next, actually the show resumes, intermission's over, we have women's action as Latina Spice Nat Castle faced the Nomi Gabby Forza. And the match had a female referee. I don't think she got an introduction from ring announcer Ryan Peterson. Okay. These ladies, Forza was really displaying her power, and you know, Castle eventually was getting her way and getting her licks in and such. Eventually, Castle, she took, I don't know what kind of spice, or whatever that was, she threw it at Forza's face, and for some reason the female referee didn't call for the bell right away. It's like, I don't know what the heck happened there. Especially it's happened right before the referee's eyes. So after the match, Castle continues to attack Forza while she's down. Out comes general manager of the Entity of Prayers, Ariella Nix, and looks like she's arguing with Castle, but then Nix and Castle double team Forza, trying to put the boots to her. But then out comes Zulika, who has teamed with Gabby Forza early this year. And Zulika, she starts going at it with Castle. At one point, Forza gets up, and I believe even the female referee's arguing with Nix. Forza, I mean, I don't know if something went wrong here. I kind of saw it coming while I'm watching what's going on. Forza's like bracing herself in the corner. She goes for a spear. Nix moves out of the way, and Forza spears the referee. At that point, Brian Myers comes out with a bag in his hand, and he announced to the crowd that next March of 2024 marks 10 years since Creative Pro Wrestling began. Now, I understand the Creative Pro Wrestling School opened back in March of 2014. Unless I'm mistaken, it wasn't until early 2015 they started having shows. And Myers announced that, in nearly 10 years of existence, there's one thing they do not have, and that's a women's division. And he announced to the crowd that they are going to have a tournament to crown their first ever women's champion, and not surprisingly to me, Myers, he went into the bag and unveiled the Creative Pro Wrestling Women's Championship belt, and then he hung it over the ropes before leaving the ring. And at that point, Forza, Castle, Nix, the female ref, and Forza, Castle, the female ref, Nix, and Zulika, they're all arguing about who's going to be the first women's champion. Also, I don't know. Does this mean Ariel and Nix is going to get back in the ring, I hope? And I got to say, back when the night when Forza, Zulika, Castle, and hold on, I'm trying to think of her name. I'll get back to you. And Sassy Boatwright, when those four ladies debuted at Dreamland USA earlier this year, and during the recap of that show, I was thinking maybe it's time for Creative Pro Wrestling to have a women's division. So I don't know, Creative Pro Wrestling, could it be that you actually watch these my videos on your shows? Could it be you guys actually listen to me? I guess time will tell. I mean, I don't know if anybody on the roster actually, if Brian Myers, Pat Buck, or anybody on the roster, I don't know how many fans of the crowd, at their crowds, tend to watch my videos or not. Okay? Well, after all of that chaos, it was the good house sweeping match, as Evil Kip, challenged in the unfamiliar position of challenger, took on the sweeper Eddie Privetti for the Mayhem medal. Kip had taken possession of the medal during an episode of CAPW, and eventually the match was on, and boy, the fans were really solidly behind Privetti in this one. At one point, they both had brooms in their hands and decided to joust. I think Kip's broomstick ended up breaking. There was like a table with a bunch of stuff set up. There was I think it looked like some eggs got involved, cooking flour, which got thrown in Kip's face. At one point, it looked like they were back in the ring. Privetti took I don't know if it was like a pair of plastic tongs and used them on Kip. And man, they really made this match work. And at one point, Kip tried to, and Privetti are on the top rope, and Kip had Privetti up on his shoulders. Privetti managed to elbow out of it, and they took a spray bottle of Windex, which was conveniently on the ring post, and sprayed it in Kip's face, and even the crowd's chanting, "Windex, Windex." The end came when 4 chairs were put in place, and Privetti went for a Hurricane Rana while Kip's positioned on the second rope, or sitting on the top rope. Well, Kip was going to counter it with a powerbomb, but Privetti flipped him over, hit the Hurricane Rana on the 4 chairs, and eventually Privetti used some kind of, I don't know, maybe a shiny wizard with some kind of metal object into Kip's face and pinned him to retain the Mayhem medal. And I think that match, I think it's safe to say, no pun intended, gave new meaning to the term Mayhem. And then it was time for the main event, which saw Effie, who came to the ring to Elton John's Goodbye Yellow Brick Road, went one-on-one with the dime piece, Aaron Rourke. And there were a few other guys wearing I don't know if they were wearing masks, and they're standing on the side of the aisle before Rourke made his way to the ring. Boy, now these two guys actually put on one, given the ball, and boy, to go on. I mean, I'm sure the pressure was on both of these men, knowing that they were put on last, and those two were given the ball and they ran with it. I mean, I've seen Aaron Rourke the last few years in Creative Pro. He's proven that he can really go. Now, at one point in this matchup, oh boy, they went out on the floor, and Effie atomic dropped Rourke on the guardrail right in front of Tommy and dragged him across the rail. on his groin, that is. His groin, so painful. And it was like so much, my God. I don't want to call it. I mean, I can't really call it anyway, because, I mean, they really made it, they both really clicked, and it was like, not magic when they touched, but, you know, when two people, I don't know if this was their first one-on-one meeting between these guys, but at one point, they were like, trying to give each other, like, massage. Rourke was kind of like, at one point, after he gave Rourke a spanking. Man. Ooh. Well, the end came when Rourke put Effie in some kind of a submission hold, like a surfboard type hold, and I don't know if Effie's hands were free, but the referee called for the bell, and the dime piece Rourke was victorious over Effie to end a great event of wrestling. Personal notes time. It was great seeing Tommy Maselli, his girlfriend Robin, Jameson, Sierra, I'm sorry, dressed up in her decked out in cosplaying as Leo Sparrow, she was sitting near us. Definitely, wow, one heck of a night show here. By the way, we know independent wrestling is not prompt with letting the crowd in. It wasn't until 4:20 p.m., Rob Van Dam's favorite time, 4:20, when they finally let the crowd in. Now, like I said, even though it was a nice summer day, this isn't going to be acceptable to everybody. All right. We do have some memorable quotes. Silly goose, silly goose, silly goose. The crowd at the Birds of the Sun during their matchup. You ripped my only shirt! Liam Davis to Bronson as he was dishing out the punishment. Better than yours! Liam Davis to someone in the crowd, responding to the crowd when someone asked him, how's your chest, after all the chops he took from Bronson. During the opening matchup, Leo Sparrow, he grabbed a hold of Joe Carson's hat and threw it pretty far. And I don't know if Carson ever got the hat back or not. Okay. Well, actually, here's something I forgot to mention during the Effie Rourke match. Effie, they're on the apron, and Effie picked Rourke up for a suplex, and one of Rourke's feet hit the chandelier right above the ring. And, you know, the chandelier didn't fall, but look, maybe a small piece might have broke off of it. And the crowd's chanting chandelier. All we needed was for Saya to be there to sing the song. Oh, another quote. Women's wrestling. Women's wrestling. Oh, the crowd right after the announcement of a tournament to crown the first ever Creative Pro Wrestling Women's Champion. All right. Let's see. Oh, I forgot. Good seeing ring announcer Ryan Peterson. You know. Funny thing, just before the main event started, the guy sitting next to me, he was watching NXT's Great American Bash pre-show on his phone. I guess he watched it on the way home, I suppose. Now, I know I've said this in the past, but Creative Pro Wrestling, I wish when you do Sunday shows, you could start them at 2 or 3 p.m. instead of 5 p.m. Knowing that so many fans have to either go to work the next day, when September rolls around, the children they gotta go to school the next morning. And, you know, because that's the thing, as much as I enjoy going to the shows, I mean, I just don't enjoy the fact that, you know, it's like 8 o'clock when the shows are done and knowing I gotta work the next day. However, some good news, folks. Creative Pro Wrestling returns to action and returns to the Knights of Columbus in Lynbrook, New York on Friday. Yes, Friday, September 15th. For the first time in over 1 year, Creative Pro Wrestling is running on a Friday night. On Friday night, September 15th. And nothing's really been announced, made official yet, but I would like to see Bobby Orlando take on Dr. Cool J Clang for the television championship. Maybe a return bout for the tag team title between Midlife Express and the Adrenaline Express. I don't know if the women's tournament, the tournament to crown the first ever women's champion, is going to get underway September 15th. If not, I would like to see Gabby Forza and Zuleika face Nat Castle and Ariella Nix in a tag team matchup. Oh, I'm thinking maybe Aaron Rourke should be next to challenge Bryce Donovan for the heavyweight championship. I wonder, now that Eddie Pavetti is turned back Evil Kip's rematch clause, well, not his clause, but you get the point, that Kip got his rematch and failed, will the Mayhem medal go back to being defended in multi-person matches? I would like to see the Even Stevens against Vlogbro University in a standard tag team matchup. Man, I just don't know where. It's like some, like, you know, that's the thing about pro wrestling I've learned over the years. It's just like that song by The Fix. One thing leads to another. Now, as Brian Myers did mention in the when he came out and announced about the women's title tournament, seeing that Creative Pro Wrestling is turning 10 in March 2024, I wonder, could there be a really big show planned for that month? Whether it be in Lynbrook, Melville, or somewhere else? I wonder, could it be? Because maybe that could be, I mean, I don't know exactly when they're gonna, how many women are gonna be in that tournament, and you know, because they have booked women's matches in the past on their shows, but you know, I guess this is quite a huge step, Creative Pro Wrestling. I will say that. Damn. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Yeah. Wow, wow, wow. See if anything else I can think of here. Woo. Couldn't believe somebody behind me held up a sign saying Jesus sweeps. And those fans behind me, I mean, they were a lot of them behind me. They were really making the most noise. So many times when wrestlers were kicking out at pinfalls, they're yelling, "That was three, that was three," and I yelled through my megaphone, "I didn't hear a bell." I don't think they heard me. La 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 la. Oh, Tommy, when you watch this, you know, hopefully your girlfriend Robin comes back for another Creative Pro event. Oh boy. Well, after the another reason why I wish the Sunday shows would start at 2 or 3 o'clock rather than 5 o'clock, because right after the show ended, I actually walked all the way to the Taco Bell on Merrick Road, and after I got done eating there, you know, I actually waited for the N4 bus, which goes all the way to Jamaica Center in Queens, and then I was able to take the J train home. I know it would take longer to get home that way, but you know, it's cheaper than taking the Long Island Railroad. Ooh. Now, one thing I not really address about the show, but when I got there, like, what's it, after 3:30 I arrived, there was these two little kids. I don't know if their parents were with them, but they just kept getting out of line. Well, literally getting out of line, off the line, was standing in, waiting to get in for the show. But we noticed, but there were times where I guess that was their mother telling one of them or both of them, get over here. I mean, I'm not a parent, and I dang sure don't look anything like Joe Frost from Super Nanny when I say this. I mean, if the kids don't, when you tell the kids get over here one time and they don't listen, why don't you just walk your butts over there and grab and get hold of your children? I mean, stuff like that makes me glad I don't have children at this time. Let's see, what else can I say about this awesome show? Another thing, I mentioned this before, I don't know if they'll ever think about getting a bigger place, because I just feel bad for those who come to the shows in Lynbrook and they're standing by the walls throughout for the whole show. I mean, I just feel bad for them because they got to stand all that time. No way I'll do that. Oh boy, what else can be said? Okay, I think that will do it. Great Pro Wrestling, another great event. And just can't wait to hear what the show title as well as the talent that will be coming on Friday night, September 15th in Lynbrook will be. But I don't know if it's a new chant, but maybe I'll help catch this song comes next time I'm there. CAP, 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 CAP. They were chanting, some were chanting that right after the announcement of the women's title tournament. So, Creative Pro Wrestling did great. CAP, 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 CAP.